Everyone, welcome to the Software Services channel. Hope you're all doing good. So let us discuss something useful topic today. Yeah, today's topic is actually the traditional computing versus the cloud computing, friends. So when we move back slide, okay. So we are in the series of basics of cloud computing, in which we already discussed, the first two, first two agenda points, and the third, topic is first two topics we already covered. Now we are in the third topic called differences between the traditional computing and cloud computing, friends. So if anybody is watching this video directly, so I recommend you first watch these two topics and then only come to this one, right? So now we are resuming. Okay. So just for the sake of your understanding, I am just quickly go through these slides. So we discussed these traditional computing concepts and the examples of traditional computing and its key characteristics. Discuss the cloud computing concepts and cloud computing model. So the architecture of the cloud computing, and then the cloud concepts, key characteristics of the cloud, and then now we are going to deal. I mean, we are going to discuss the topic of computing versus cloud computing. Yeah. So now in this session, we'll uh, it's a kind of compare and contrast study between the traditional computing and cloud computing. Okay. So let us dive into the topic, friends. So now, uh, here I wanted to differentiate between by taking some of the important parameters uh, for its discrimination. I mean differentiation. So infrastructure ownership. So if you please remember, friends, the word infrastructure, we are again we are going to listen this word. So infrastructure in the sense the required hardware, software, and all the other things that are required to run a an application. Okay, so whatever it may be, so all the needed things we need to uh, you know uh, we are referring to the infrastructure. So who is the owner of that infrastructure? So let us first take traditional computing and see who is the infrastructure owner, and then we will come to the cloud computing and see who is the owner of the infrastructure. Okay. So in traditional computing, as we already discussed in our last class sessions, the infrastructure ownership is solely the organization or company. Okay. So if we are a company and we are going to run our applications, we need to purchase all the infra needed, required servers, storage, databases, all those things, and we'll assemble in a building which is called a data center. So to maintain all those things, so we hired some IT professionals also. So all the infrastructure, land, everything is owned by the company itself. Okay. And when it comes to cloud computing, so the infrastructure is not owned by the company, but the infrastructure is owned by a third party service provider. So in technical sense, the third party service provider, we are calling it as cloud service provider. Okay. So that cloud service provider may be Google Cloud or Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. Okay, so any cloud service provider it may be. The owner of the infrastructure is, so if we are using cloud service provider, as if a company is using their cloud service provider as Google Cloud, then the all the infrastructure which the company is using to run their applications, okay, so many servers, storage and networking, all these the company is going to lease from the Google Cloud, and the company will pay the amount for the duration of that usage. Now, after the usage, the owner is still the Google Cloud only. I mean, it may be AWS and it may be extended to the Microsoft Azure. Is you can use the infrastructure, but you cannot own it. Okay, of that infrastructure lies with the cloud service provider only. And then cost model. So when it comes to the cost, so how the cost, uh, you know, how much cost um, we will be getting when using traditional computing or cloud computing. So in traditional computing, so we already know a company needs to buy all the necessary hardware, software, infrastructure, and all the maintenance, of the data center, and paying the salaries to the IT professionals who is going to maintain the data centers. Everything, the cost, the company needs to plan in their budget. Okay, so that is very very huge. So that is capital expenditure is there, operational expenditure is also there. So capital expenditure in the sense, the money that is required to purchase some server, purchase some storage, RAM, uh, softwares, operating systems, licensed operating systems, and all. And operating expenditure in the sense of the power supply to run data center, we need power supply. And if there is a power cut, so we need to maintain uninterruptible power supply (UPS). And for that, we need to install batteries. And for doing all these technical things, we need to hire IT professionals, IT engineers, software engineers, right? So much of costly affair. So, but when it comes to cloud computing, so we are not going to do all these things. Okay, so because the cloud service provider will maintain all this infrastructure, so okay, they will do all the maintenance. Okay, um, purchasing, operating expenditure, capital expenditure, is the responsibility of the cloud service provider, but not with the company. Okay. So company will lease the infrastructure provided by the cloud service provider. The cloud service provider may be Azure or AWS, or again and again I am telling, right? So the company perspective, so they will lease and they will pay for the lease time. Okay. So in which the company uh, need not pay more and more amount. Okay, like when the company is maintaining their own data centers, they will invest a lot of money. But when a company adapts the cloud computing model to run their workloads, the job is very easy. Okay, so all this headache will be uh, taken care by the cloud service provider, and all they ask is, I will lease infrastructure which I am having globally. You can use that infrastructure and you can run your workloads on top of my infrastructure. So for using that, you can pay me the designated money, right? So, and then moving to the next slide. So scalability. What is scalability? In the sense, you know it is in other words elasticity. Scalability in the sense increasing and decreasing the capacity of an IT resource demands. Okay, so for example, is today is Monday, for example. So if an user generally user traffic is very low for all these e-commerce websites on Monday, but it is heavy user traffic generally on weekends and holidays. So if I buy 50 GB of RAM, okay, for today or for this month, and for the coming months, maybe my user base increases. So then I need 100 GB of RAM. So 50 GB of RAM, I already invested some, thousands of dollars. But for 100 GB of RAM, again I need to upgrade manually. All these things cumbersome. Uh, Even though I purchased it, I need to upgrade. So that upgrade needs to be scheduled in a break time, right? So downtime. So which is not that much easy. The scalability, that means changing the capacity of the IT resource uh, is not that much very easy in traditional computing. It is it comes with so much of cost, strain, and also a downtime. But in cloud computing, so the power of virtualization is allowing us to procure or what I can say, to allocate. So in this minute I can demand 50 GB of RAM, and in the next 1 hour I can demand 100 GB, and in the next hour I can again scale down to 50 GB or 20 GB, or maybe I can put automatic scaling in the sense as per my demand user traffic, the RAM, or I am only taking an example of RAM, but it is applicable to any other resource, CPU, all the services. Okay, so we can easily scale up and down as per the user traffic. So the scalability uh, is very very quick, and so it's a uh, lightning fast when in the cloud computing. And when coming to the fourth point is the resource management. So how uh, resources are managed in the traditional computing and in the cloud computing, in the sense as we already discussed, right? So for management of all these servers, databases, networking, all these things, software patching, all these things should be uh, done by the company itself in the earlier days, right? So capacity planning they have to do, and a lot of uh, money budgeting uh, and downtime they have to plan when it comes to an upgrade. Uh, so maintenance of these resources are not easy in the traditional computing, but in case of cloud computing, so since uh, the resources are very much dynamically allocated, and you can provision so wherever you need, whenever you need, and you can also deprovision uh, the unused resources or infrastructure, in the sense the needed components in the sense CPU, or it may be storage, or it may be database, or it may be any uh, required to run the application. Okay, so that is about resource management and responsibility for maintenance. We already discussed as part of the resource management. you know, and also the responsibility of the maintenance when it comes to software updates or hardware upgrades, maintenance of the data center. All these activities are responsibilities of the company. It is also a very big headache. When it comes to cloud computing, these tasks will be performed by the cloud service provider. So, as a company, we no need to bother about these things. Just we have to only two two things. This cloud computing is wanting a company to do. So, hey, company, all these infrastructure I'm having, which is not permitted to a single region. I have my infrastructure globally spread across the world. You can lease that infrastructure and pay the money. Okay. So number one is lease my infrastructure. Number two is pay the money. Rest of the things I will take care. You don't worry. Okay. That is that much of um, freedom is having in the cloud computing. So it's an easy for all the companies to manage to run their applications on the cloud. All these headaches of um, deployment of new hardware, software, upgrading, all these things cloud service provider will take care of in the cloud computing. And the security and compliance also in the traditional computing, organizations bear the full responsibility. So, and they can, they are having because they are the whole and sole proprietorship of their own data center. They can change their security regulations as they, want and as they need. But in the cloud computing, depending upon the shared responsibility model and the service model which we are using, the security and compliance will be shared between the uh, service provider and the company. So, what are the different service models of the cloud computing? In the next class, we will discuss, friends. Okay, and then the accessibility and location independence. Accessibility in the sense, so in order to access a traditional computing data center, we need to physically go to the data center and sit down and do all those things. And maybe there may be VPN connections, but it is not maybe not reachable to each and every part of the world. But in the case of cloud computing, there is no location dependence. So if we take an cloud service provider as an example of Google Cloud, so Google Cloud is having its own data centers spread across many countries, many countries, 100 plus countries, so that you can go anywhere. You can deploy application any country as you decide. Okay? So that much of location independence is there. That means uh, the service is available everywhere. The data centers is available wherever you go. And how can you connect to that cloud service provider? By using internet connection. If there is an internet connection, then you can reach your cloud service provider. So that much of accessibility and global infrastructure the cloud service providers are having. Okay, and one more important point I need to discuss here is time to market and innovation. So traditional computing may require, so long time to market because so to deploy an application, first of all, they need to design, they need to procure a land, they need to procure the big servers, and they need to install it by their own. All these things will happen. It will take months and years together to construct a data center. But in case of cloud computing, it's a matter of seconds, guys. Yes, okay. So it's a matter of a blip of an eye. Very, very fast. So if you have internet, you log into the cloud service provider website, and you can just with a one click, you can provision a new server. So within seconds, a new server will be working for you. And in the same way, if you don't want that server, or if you don't want that storage or database, in the next second itself you can delete those resources. So when a web page, UI page will be there, a website, so all the cloud service provider is having their own website for working with the cloud. Okay, so time to market, it's very fast. So, and yeah, so these are all the different points which need to understand when it comes to traditional computing and the cloud computing. But now, note here is, so even though the cloud computing is having many advantages in many aspects, uh, you know, uh, based on the requirements of the businesses and their sensitivity levels. So they will always use, uh, they will stick to the cloud computing, and also they will use the on-premises data centers also based on the requirement. Okay, so that is the session and the topic, friends. So hope you understood all these topics. So, in the next topic, we'll see in the next class. So, till then, bye bye. Yours Veera signing off. Thank you.